In August, there will be the new introduction of a newly calculated lifetime net merit breeding value. There'll be some important new traits included, and here with us today to talk about them is Joao Durr, the CEO of the Council on Dairy Cattle Breeding, the U.S. organization that's responsible for producing genetic evaluations and for implementing the new net merit calculations. Joao, welcome to Dairy Business Update. Thank you for being with us.
Thank you, Joel. This is really a pleasure for me to be here and to be able to reach out to your audience. I think it's a real special occasion for us because net merit is our main product. It synthesizes all the recommendations that we have from the science to the producers. What we think the best thing they can do would be to use net merit to select the next generation of cows. So we are excited to have this update.
Cows and bulls, of course.
Yeah.
Well, tell us a little bit about the new traits that will be included. They're really quite dramatically different from what we've been seeing.
Yes, of course. I like to say that we have new traits, new knowledge coming into the equation, and expanding the goals that we had before already. But the target is the same. So we want to get the most profitable cow for our U.S. herds. So the new traits, we have two traits that are more associated with the younger cows or calves. So this is early first calving. So we know already that our heifers are calving much earlier than they were before, and this helps to save a lot of money for the producers, and also show that these heifers are growing faster and healthier. So this is a trait that is important, and also heifer livability. So livability basically reflects mortality before first calving, and this is also something that has been improving over the years. But it's very important because it's a total loss when this heifer is lost due to disease or anything else. So these two traits really address health and growth of calves. But the big novelty here, something that is calling more the attention of the public and has been really receiving a lot of investment, is feed saved. So the feed saved is really the trait that has received more attention and a lot of investment. This trait associates with the feed efficiency. So we want those cows that are able to produce the same amount of milk with less feed. So feed costs are the most important single cost in a dairy operation. And we have been able to make a lot of progress over the years using correlated traits, such as body size and other traits. But now we do have a direct measurement of how efficiently the cows utilize the feed. And this trait has been pursued by the industry for a long time. It's extremely difficult to measure accurately, and therefore it took a lot of research and a lot of investment from the government agencies and also from CDCB to produce the data that we use to generate this trait. So adding that to the net merit brings net merit even closer to the direction that we want to go, which is more profitable cows.
There are something on the order of 40 traits that are included in net merit of various transmitting abilities and various weights. Is anything being diminished or displaced by the addition of these new traits? Or to put it another way, how is the formula being adjusted without asking you to go into the details of the mathematics, which would certainly go over my head, if not our listeners?
It's important to understand that what net merit is a selection index. Selection index is a methodology that has been developed following the theory of economics. So basically, it's the optimal way that you combine all this information to achieve maximum profitability. So what we do, we look at the economics of each of these traits, both profits or revenues and costs. And the end result, the marginal result, will be the optimal when you apply the weights that we have. So the fact that you add new traits, obviously, you have only 100% of weight that you can put in a formula. So those traits will take some of the existing weight. But we have to realize that all these traits are genetically correlated. So you never select one trait isolatedly without affecting the other. So we are not reducing the emphasis on important traits. On the opposite, we are keeping most of the traits with a very similar emphasis that they had before, with the exception of those traits that we already made progress. So calving traits, for example, this was done already last year. We realized that we have made a tremendous progress in calving easy traits, so we don't need to put as much emphasis as we had before, because we already have the population in the place that we wanted to be years ago. Of course, we don't remove the trait from the index because we want to continue making progress, even smaller progress, so we can keep the population in a good place. But that gives room for us to put some emphasis on other traits that need more progress. So it's a dynamic, and also it depends on the market. For example, the main revenue comes from milk sales, and depends on how producers are paid. We need to adjust the weights to, for example, put more emphasis on protein or more emphasis on fat. But this is to reflect the most current trends and most current factors that we have in front of us. But there's no loss, let's say, to some of the traits. Some of the traits that were already important before receive even more emphasis now as well, like productive life, for example. So this is really the product of using all the new knowledge that is available.
The Council on Dairy Cattle Breeding itself is governed by a number of entities within the industry, reflecting the variety of the industry. But part of your work to introduce this new formula is to coordinate that with and communicate with various elements of the industry. Just give us an idea of how that has occurred and how consensus was generated as you led up to the introduction of this new formula.
Well, I mean, as you mentioned, CDCB, or the Council on Dairy Cattle Breeding, is an organization that congregates several sectors of the industry. And net merit is, let's say, has been authored and maintained by the USDA, by the Agile group, led by Dr. Paul van Reyden. And they come up with the numbers based on science and based on the evidence that they gather from literature and also from their own research. But given the impact of net merit on sire selection and also on the, let's say, the value of the animals that are being selected, we had a very long conversation in our, let's say, organization. First, by looking at the science itself. So we have a genetic evaluation methods group formed by leading scientists that help us to review all the science that is behind any kind of change that we propose to the evaluations. And then we also have the producer advisory committee, which is formed by 5 leading producers, and they are there to advise the CDCB board on what is the impact that they see these changes might have to the industry. And finally, we also have the members of CDCB themselves, I mean, the breed associations, NAB and their members, and also DHIA, RPC. So all of them have been consulted and been part of this discussion. And we knew that even though we were convinced that the science was right and this was the way to go, we needed to have this feedback and this interaction so that we were sure that we had the industry prepared for that. And in this process, actually, we realized that there are some adjustments that needed to be made. For example, the milk prices. If you look now, the net merit and cheese merit are very close together. Why? Because in our conversations with the industry, we realized that most of the producers now are paid for components. So net merit reflected that, and that brought it close to cheese merit, and that was a product of this conversation with the industry. So it's an interactive process. Also helps people to prepare for what is coming, and we are convinced that it's for the first time we had this long conversation about something that is in principle purely scientific, but we know how that impacts the lives of producers and members of the industry to a great deal. So we're satisfied with the process because we could have several opportunities to get input and also to explain why things are being proposed.
One other point that I've heard made, in fact, I've heard you make it, and that is that with the goal being an efficient and more profitable cow to benefit dairy producers, that also has the benefit of, in effect, creating a more sustainable industry, with sustainability being top of mind throughout the food system, actually throughout our economy. Talk just for a moment about the sustainability issue around this new index, newly calculated index.
Yeah, we have the habit to discuss a lot between producers and the immediately affected industry members. And we say, well, what is the goal? We want to increase profitability here and there, but what really moves everything is the consumer. And the consumer is sending a clear message. We want to address the environmental issues that global warming and all that. So also we have to consider that cattle has been, let's say, put into the middle of this discussion as kind of the bad guys, that are generating methane and creating this carbon footprint that some urban populations consider to be really a bad thing. So in order to address that, we need to be actively involved in producing information that allow us to have an argument against that. But most importantly, we are all aware that more efficient cows will have a lower impact into the environment. So we are addressing that effectively. And we now have data that can back us up that we are really achieving larger yields with lower carbon footprint. So,
yep. Well, thank you for discussing this. It's an important and large topic. We appreciate the fact that you've supplied us with a feature article in our most recent issue of Dairy Business Digital Magazine, and we'll include a link to that in the information around this recording. But we thank you very much for taking time to be with us on Dairy Business Update. Joao Durr, CEO of the Council on Dairy Cattle Breeding. Thank you, Joao, for being with us.
thank you, Joel.
And this is your host, Joel Hastings, for Dairy Business Update, and you can find us at dairybusiness.com.